I want to introduce our trainer today, Jim Cook. Jim Cook is a member of the Gaffney Rotary Club, joined there in 1998. He's been president, secretary, treasurer, and assistant governor.
And secretary-treasurer.
And secretary-treasurer. Paul Harris Fellow +1. He's the exec director of the Cherokee County Development Board. He has more than 24 years of experience in economic development. Has a BS degree from the Citadel and a master's in management from Webster University.
All right.
So please welcome Jim Cook. Thank you.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot. I'll just, how many people have been a treasurer before? 1, 2, 3. No, I'm club treasurer, which I've already got, when I checked in out here, I said, I'm here, I need to teach a class, where's Terry? And he, what are you teaching? I said, DAC-DB. I mean, you know, like the DAC-DB module. But he was like, DAC-DB, here, help me. I need, and I was like, they're trying to help. So I said, no, it's like district level stuff. And it's like, I haven't been there. So anyway, I've been club treasurer and secretary treasurer, secretary and president for a short stint, assistant district governor. And by far, the toughest job, in my opinion, is the secretary treasurer roles. I mean, it's never ending. You're there every week. So my hat's off to you guys and gals for doing this. And it's just, it's a personal thing with me. Retired from the Army, came back to Gaffney and was running our little Chamber of Commerce. And I'm just telling you a little war story to emphasize how important things are and why. And we all have integrity and we have all this stuff. But our Peach Festival, South Carolina Peach Festival up in Gaffney, some of you may have been there. And I was at the Chamber of Commerce and they housed with us. And so I was kind of watching how they did things. And I'll try to shorten the story a little bit, but the treasurer of the Peach Festival was coming in with reports and saying, we got this much money, spending this, that, blah, blah, blah. Well, the president of the Peach Festival at that time said, hey, can you show me the bank statements? She was giving him like Excel spreadsheets. Yeah, I'll get that for you. And this went on for several weeks, which turned into months. So he finally walks across the street to the bank and says, I'm the president of the Peach Festival. I need to see our, oh, no problem. Here, they gave it to him. He went, not good. You know, newspaper stories, SLED investigations, and several months later, the person, I think she stayed out of jail, but had to make rest. And I just got out of the Army. I'm in the civilian world now, and I'm seeing all these organizations like Peace Festival, Rotary, and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, there's people that are doing bad things out here. So when I do something, I won't, you can tell everybody you're doing a great job, but I wanted to prove that I'm doing a good job. And that's what you have to do as the treasurer. So people rely on you. They have faith in you. And you got to not just tell them that, but wake me up. So start out with the responsibilities there. So many things, and I've already been asked some real specific questions. This is, 20,000 feet. I will try to get into as much of the weeds as I can. But we'll talk about your responsibility as a treasurer and your relationships with the club and the secretary. But these are some of the things you have to do. By the way, we have handouts. Have they already gone out? The handouts are out. And this isn't rocket science, folks. I mean, most of you have been secretary or treasurer for your Sunday school class or your kids' Little League team or something like that. But this one, it's every week. Does anybody meet less than once a week here? A couple of clubs? Twice a month? Okay. But, once a week doesn't sound like much until you're checking the mail and checking. It's something you have to kind of work at a little bit. It is not something to take lightly, but you have to do a lot of things. And quite frankly, your leadership in your club depends on you to do these things. For example, develop and present a budget for board approval. You got to sit down. They're not going to do the budget. They're not. Most presidents aren't. They want to say, what did we do last year? Add a couple of things to it. There'll be some procedures you have to do, but as treasurer, you're going to have to prepare the budget, and we'll talk about some programs that can help you with that. Member invoices, dues, meals, contributions. You got to keep up with all the money coming in and going out. Those are the biggest things. You got to invoice every month. Anybody? What's Crossy? Y'all did. We invoice monthly. Does anybody else do differently? Quarterly. Ooh. See, annually. What we do too, but I invoice monthly for my meals. Well, okay, well, that's great. There is no one way, and we'll talk about those things. My club, you can show up with nothing, for the whole month, and you get billed at the end of the month. So you don't have to bring anything with you. You don't have to bring cash. You don't have to bring check book or a credit card or anything else like that. So that's how our club does it. Some other clubs do quarterly. Meals are paid quarterly. Okay, in my club, that would be starting to get to be a big bill, because I do have members that don't pay monthly, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 it starts adding up. All of a sudden, they got $200-300 bill, especially if they're from a nonprofit or they work for a small. It's like, hey, you got to be the bad guy sometimes. You got to go whisper in people's ears, hey, you're a little behind, and keep them honest. Anybody have any stories on that or anything? I've seen some big bills before, then they quit showing up. So sometimes you get took. Well, it saves us a lot of money. If you in our club, if you're a rule of 85, you only have to pay for your meals if you come. But we have a commitment to the cafeteria where we eat. We have to promise so many meals. So our rule is you have to pay for the meal whether you're there or not. And unless you make up at a club, another club somewhere, and bring your little ticket in and show that. Right now, I'm the assistant treasurer, and in Gaffney, we met pretty quick. We weren't out for a long time. We were at Limestone University now, by the way. Am I right, Crossy? Limestone University. There you go. And we eat there, and it's a great place. But but I'm sure we did a little bit. We were maybe if people couldn't come. If somebody would have objections to coming during COVID, we would say, okay, fine. But we were in much more contact with the university cafeteria, more accurate with our meals. But anyway, but normally. And we're back to normal now. We're meeting and we're doing that kind of thing. So billing quarterly would scare me with my crowd, but you got to know your club. And then those, we do brags every week. If you brag on something, it goes into our little fund, and we keep up with those brags. $1, hey, it's my anniversary, pay $1. We just mark them down, and at the end of the billing cycle, mark down your brags, $5 brags or whatever. Duals, meals, other contributions, and we'll talk about some of those things. Receivables, any collections you may have to do. And I was looking through some of these, there's different size clubs in here. I know the Greenville and Spartanburg clubs are huge. I saw my friend Ed Elliott from the Blacksburg club. They're rather small. I used to go over there when I was assistant district governor a lot. You can count on being president in that club several times throughout your Rotary career. They do. It's a great club. They meet at Kelly's and in Blacksburg, and but you talk to some of their folks, they've been president of their club. It's kind of a thing in our club. Kind of once you've done it, I'm done. Don't bother me. Because we've kind of gone back. When the wells run a little dry, hey, would you consider? It's a badge of courage. I've already done that. Manage and track club income, make your bank deposits. We take in money every week. We do, and we'll talk about invoicing in a little bit, but some folks get their statement, come in and bring a check or pay cash. We have our brag. Somebody just go ahead and pay their money. So, and then throughout the week, we got a P.O. box. everybody have a PO box? That's how, and so when I was treasurer, I'd go by about every day. I mean, that's just kind of how I did it. But the one we got now, I'm lucky if he goes once a week, but he's got to do all that and make the bank deposits, which are sometimes not always right. And having two people doing that kind of stuff really helps. So you got to make your bank deposits. Write checks, pay bills. We'll talk about the different programs that are out there. We keep a paper check. You know, we got a checkbook. I don't have, like at my work, I can use QuickBooks to send the checks through the printer and that kind of stuff, but we don't do that. Pay your bills, and some of them are weird, like the tough thing, and we'll get a little bit more into this, the tough thing about all of this is transition. Like I still get the email from the post office, I do, about you need to renew once a year. And so I haven't been treasurer in quite some time, but I still get that email. And I never went, and so like, what if I left? I wasn't in the club anymore. And I didn't go by and change that. And so, that the transition part to all this is things you need to think about. And I'll tell you some of the things we've done that's pretty good for that. Other responsibilities, track your fundraising income, and we're going to talk about techniques to do that. I'd like to come down here and always hear how different things are doing that. And of course, the money coming in, the money going out for your special projects. I didn't know this, but our treasurer's always been on our board, but I guess the Council on Legislation said it has to be that. So in your club, you have to be on your board. Now, we've always done that and provide an income statement and balance sheet. And we'll go over a few of those things. Let me caveat, I am not an accountant by any means, but most of this stuff you don't have to be. You just got to get in, roll up your sleeves, do some work. And I'll tell you some things you can do to roll up your sleeves. How many of you have a separate 501c3? We do. We've got a little scholarship for our university. We're kind of moving that around right now. We did ours with Foundation of the Carolinas, Cherokee County. We got a little small, but we don't like the way they were doing things. And we're working with our university now just to keep our money in there, and they report to us. And we give a little scholarship to Limestone University. What are some other 501? Give me some examples. What kind of foundations other clubs have?
Several clubs have their own 501c3 foundation.
For what though? For what do they use it for? Club projects. Yeah, ours is specific. Ours is a scholarship project, and about half of our fundraising throughout the year, almost half. Yes, that's exactly right. So as a treasurer, I would get that report in, and I didn't really do much with this report. I gave it to our guy in the club that was the foundation scholarship guy. That was like his baby. That's all he did. So it wasn't part of it was kind of separate on the side. So that's how I do it. I don't know how other folks, me, club, dues, invoices, special projects, all that. I'd get something in the mail for the foundation. I'd go, here you go. You tell the board how much money we have, how it's being managed, and all that kind of thing. But so anybody have any other techniques or think that's right or wrong? Or yeah, you got one guy in the club that's his baby. And our guy is actually works at one of the foundations in Gaffney. So he understands foundation rules and that kind of stuff. Track and remit funds to the Rotary Foundation. CART. Your money for CART. When's that due? We do it quarterly, I think is how we pay it. It's whenever you got money. Yeah, we try to do that money. And I'll talk about how you need to track these things. Well, there it is at the bottom there. They need to be tracked as liabilities of the club and not expenses. Why are we doing that? And do you know what I mean by that? When you set up your accounts, they need to be set up not as expense accounts, but as a liability. It's pass-through money. It is not yours. That's what I call it. somebody's giving you some money and saying, here, please pay the foundation, the Rotary Foundation for me. Or you remember, you're like, okay, writing them all down, compiling it and sending it up. So it's not income for your club. It's pass-through money. Same thing. Oh, okay. They're an expense? Okay, yes, I stand corrected. So Rotary Foundation, that your guy's always beating everybody up to give you $100 and all that. Because like me, I don't even give it to my club, guy in the club anymore. I just get online to my account. And so the club gets credit, all that kind of stuff. But, you know, I just try to make it easier on him. But a lot of people won't get online and get their little number and log. You know, we always say that, hey, just get online, just pay it. Make it easy on me, you know. But over half of our club will not do that. And we got a club of about 60, almost 70 people, probably 35 to 40 show up every week. So that's kind of the size we are. Cart funds, same way, track them. And we'll talk about the importance of the liabilities in a minute and anything you send to your foundations that we talked about. It's not your money. You never collected it. There we're talking about RI dues. Twice a year you get a bill based, and that's why it's very important for your secretary to have updated club records at the end of June so that RI can send you the correct bill and you're not paying for people that hadn't shown up in your club in a year and you just haven't dropped them from the rolls or and you're paying for them. And you get another bill in January, of course, based on membership. And then 7750 sends you a bill one time a year in July. So look for 3 bills to pay for your dues. This is a biggie. Pay attention. This is the one that will get you. And it got us. And thank goodness, Secretary Mark Hammond's brother is in our club. Okay. And we had to make a call on him because we frankly kind of just blew this one off. You know, was when it first came out, and these are reporting requirements for nonprofits, and Rotary is a 501c4, okay? We have to report it to the Secretary of Commerce. Yes, I stand corrected. We just got a new Secretary of Commerce at South Carolina, so have that on my mind. Secretary of State, Mark Hammond's office. There's a couple ways to do this, and that's one of the reasons you want that pass-through money. If it is less than, if you have gross receipts, less than $50,000, you can file the 990N. Yeah, this is an IRS filing, yes. And then there's the, to make it simple, get you a good accountant, a good CPA. We've got a lady in our town, and she lost a child some years ago. He was my son's age in high school, and she's got this foundation. She does it for us pro bono, and we always donate to her foundation. We give a little check to her foundation. She's wonderful. She bends over backwards for us, and we give her all of our DAC-DB files, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, and she does our stuff. And we went to her panicking when we got the letter from Secretary of State that said, y'all are shut down. What? So we went running out there, got all that fixed, got our paperwork in, and so we do that. But the gross receipts, see if you got tracking all those things that we talked about earlier, CART, foundation, and those other things, that doesn't count towards your gross receipts, pass-through money. And if you're less than 200,000, you got to do the 990EZ. I'm just reading this from Wikipedia, but your CPA, get a CPA to do this for you. Find one, pay them a couple $100 or donate a couple $100. And they have your file, so every year and they can look, especially because you're going to be changing treasurers, and they're going to say, you know, this don't match up. You know, you're too big, you're too little from last year, and that's a good checks and balances to keep your system straight in what you're doing. Understand this is from you know, all the terrorism and all that stuff. Uncle Sam changed all the IRS, changed the laws, but because I know when I was Secretary Treasurer back in the early 2000s, we'd have to do this. But does anybody have any question on that? This is a biggie. Go back and make sure that you have filed, and it's due every November 15th. So both filings, Secretary of State and IRS. Well, good. And it's great if the district reminds you, but at the end of the day, it's the club responsibility. You know, it's your yes. She's doing the camera. I thought you were raising your hand. So that's a big one. If you don't take anything away from here, you can fix most other problems we talk about. But this one gets you in trouble. I mean, this is Uncle Sam, the IRS. It's a mess to get it straight. So that's the biggest takeaway, I promise you, from today's meeting. As club treasurer, make sure your filings are done by the proper date. And you can, I like to say, just get a good CPA, but ask your former treasurer. And policies to consider. And I'll just flip most of them up here. Let's talk about a few. A third-party audit or review if one hasn't been done already. I don't know if anybody's done. There's a difference between an audit. There's a difference between a review. One's expensive, one's not. Bonding your treasurer, organizing a finance committee of which treasurer is chair. Some of the things that we do, and I'd be glad to hear what everybody else does. We have a treasurer, and he does most all that stuff that we talked about earlier. But like I am the assistant treasurer, and for example, I balance the checkbook every month. He comes to me and says, here's the bank statement. I take it. So it's a second set of eyes looking at our checkbook, making sure we don't bounce check, making sure we're balanced. And then after I do that, I scan it with the bank statement, with the reconciliation, and send it to him, our secretary, and our president, and might be one more. But the bottom line is every month in our club, there are at least 2, if not more, sets of eyes looking at real money in a real bank, because it's in the bank statement, not a report from DAC-DB, not a report from QuickBooks, not a Excel homemade spreadsheet. I got scared early, guys. I just, a real bank statement with real money, so that everybody, feels comfortable. So there's 2 or 3 people in the club again. Yeah, we got some money in the bank. We're good. So that people aren't nervous. Anything. So you should have at least 2 people looking at your money, real money, every month. Any other policies and procedures anybody else does? Our treasurer's not bonded. I don't know if we've done an audit or review lately. We have some folks that look at our stuff, but I give it to my accountant once a year for that $9.90. When you change jobs, so we've kind of had the same ones going back and forth for a while. But yeah, if you're coming in, it almost be something you want to do, but a review, an audit's expensive, and you can get a local CPA to do that for you. Oh. We'll quickly talk about accepting credit cards. We started taking credit cards about 3 or 4 years ago. I set it up with my club. I've talked to Crossy about a few things. It is, in my opinion, rather difficult to set up. But once that baby is set up, smoking. I mean, well, we'll talk about a little bit about the different ones. I don't collect any credit cards at our meetings, but you get your email and it's got a link that says you owe this much. Click on the link and it goes to a DAC-DB pay system that is, incorporated through one of our local banks, and the credit card lady there at the bank helped me set it up. And, you get your bill, hit click, pay it, boom. And we probably could do that, but right now we only do credit cards for invoices, for member invoices. I'd like to do more, but we're just, and I'll take it. There's some, again, most anything, the hardest part about all of this, in my opinion, is the continuity or transition of people. Like if I left the club today and they never saw me again and our credit card system went down, they would be struggling. I've sent some people some stuff and I've said, hey, this is what you do if something breaks. This is who you call. Yeah, okay, whatever. You'll be here, you know. And then when something, continuity is a tough issue. You don't think so? Bigger clubs, it's not as bad, but smaller clubs, I mean, somebody done something for a long time and all of a sudden they're not there. It's relearning oh God, he did it forever. Huh? Yeah, when we first set up, we talked about that, and we ate the fee. The club ate the fee. And we said maybe at some point in time, if this really takes off, we'll start charging a little bit more. But right now, we're eating the fee because we're getting more people paying, and I don't have as many outstanding. All that would be part of your internal finance controls and processes. Some people, nope, you got to pay 3%. You know, we eat it. It's just different clubs. Things you need to think about as treasurer while you're out there. Formalize budget request. We don't do that. Somebody needs something, they come and beat up the president and try to talk him or her into something. We do two-party check signing. You know, our checks no matter how much, two people have to sign the checks. So you just, again, 2 sets of eyes on every check. I do that at my work where I work at the development board. I have to have 2-party. Document retention, again, part of that continuity I was talking about. This is a tough thing, and you know, some people have different things, but I'll tell you what we started doing using DACDB. Have you gone to the My Files service? On DACDB, which y'all have the secretary module, there's the treasurer module that you have to pay for. We'll talk about that in a second, but there's one of the little icons on there is My Files, and you can go in there and upload files, and there actually one tab is secure, and we have one that says Gaffney Rotary Club. It's in our DACDB master documents, and that's where we keep our bylaws and all that stuff, because you know, how many times have you, who has a copy of the bylaws, who, you know, somebody took them home and that guy's no longer in the club, and so every year when the club president does their what's it called, the plan, you know, and so I've started keeping those, and you know, you got them for like 10 years back. I mean, I don't know why, but maybe, you know, just to look and see maybe what we did before, and let's do that again or something like that. But if you go in DACDB, there's a place that anyone that that you've designated in DACDB, your president, secretary, treasurer, and board members can go in and pull those files up and look at them from their phone, from their house, and that's the beauty of DACDB that we'll talk about. Any investment direct, it's on DACDB. When you click up My Club, and then all the little, I think it's called My Files now. I looked at it before I came down here to make sure it was still there. There set my little master documents with our bylaws that we approved and signed, and you know, it's actually a signed copy that's in a safe place somewhere. Look for any conflict. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. But the people that have more than one person has access to your president, you know, all your. But if you did Google Drive, you'd have to know, everybody would have to know the password to get on. Or have to be added. It's just one of the little hidden gem. If you have DACDB, we'll do that. Different stuff here that you got to give your, I'm not going to get into too much of this. This is accounting stuff, income statements, balance sheets. Depending on the program you have, you should be able to provide this to your club. Wait, actually, I say president, but your board periodically. Yes, ma'am. Anything else on income statement, balance sheet, net assets? I'm not going to go through all these. Go through the clicks on this one. Balance sheet. Make sure you're. We don't have I mean, assets, as far as any real assets, we don't have. That's one we've tried to stay away from that. We don't really keep a lot of cash. So most of all our assets are bank accounts, you know, and that kind of thing. So when you that's typical what you have. Talk about the pass-throughs, cart payable. Now my cart, I do quarterly because I don't have as much. We don't. So I do different ones. I mean, some I do monthly, some I do quarterly. We've talked about this a lot. Is that it? Was that the cart portal? I hadn't done that. Like I say, I'm assistant treasurer. I haven't done it lately. Is that we don't send a check to somebody anymore? No, but what about the club? Like you collect the buckets of money. How does the club pay it? Oh, EFT. Gotcha. Do a bank transfer. Got it. Everybody get that? Because I'm sorry, I have been out of the loop on that a couple of years now. We used to write a check to Steve Black. So, okay, super. I mean, again, this is all easy. So I might need to take this back to my club. Good. So I learned something here today too. myfund.org, mycartfund.org. All right. You're the incoming club treasurer. These are the things that you might want to look at. We've talked about a lot of this. I'll just jump ahead. That's the beauty to me of DAC-DB or your QuickBooks, or maybe you use Quicken or something. But, you know, 15 years ago, when I took over treasurer, you know, I got this big folder with papers and all this stuff and, you know, sorting through and all that. And I didn't know what I was doing and had to just sort it all out. And then when I left, you know, I tried to straighten it up and give it to the next person. But the beauty of DAC-DB or any online cross-platform program is you can wean people in. You can say, hey, go home and log in and look at this stuff. Go to work, you know, on your lunch break, look at this stuff, you know, look at it on your phone. You can start weaning people in instead of like, you know, I had to sit down with the guy. First of all, we had to coordinate a time to meet and sit down and all this stuff. And he's going through it 100 miles an hour. And transitions, in my opinion, back in the old days with paper and Excel spreadsheets and a folder full of bank statements was a nightmare. And it's now this one, some people might say is a nightmare because you got to learn a new program. But once you learn that program, and you can spend your own time with it, and with that, I'm self-taught. There's some great videos on DAC-DB. You just got to get in there and, you know, shut the door, no distractions, and painfully get through these boring programs that are super informative. I mean, it's just, you know, it's like taking accounting class back in college, you know, just kill me. But if you figured it out, you know, it's good stuff. So you really got to do that. There's a couple of things like when DAC-DB, when mine comes up every time, about every 10th time, there'll be a little thing that says accept cookies or whatever. And I just blew past it the first time. And because I was set up, I was been running and I just said, okay, you accept cookies, got it. But you need to click okay on that. That's what happens. Yes, the next time I logged in, there's nothing there. Frantic call to Heather. That people have had good and bad experience with Heather. I've had all good with her. She's been, but this is just imagine yourself. This is just transitioning. We've talked a lot about transition, depending on the system you have. I tried to set up, but it didn't work in our club. When I was treasurer, I brought in an assistant treasurer, and he was supposed to be it for a year, and then I leave, and he takes over treasurer, and then you bring in. It just didn't work. I mean, the guy we brought in wound up getting another job somewhere else and leaving. It's the continuity part is tough in some clubs because just things change, people quit for whatever reason. And I spent a year training this guy, and then he took another job somewhere else. What do we got here? All right, we've kind of talked. Let's see, go back. These are the first one is the Excel spreadsheets and pencil and graph charts and papers all over the place that I just couldn't stand. Quicken, I personally use Quicken at home and I love it, but I would hate to use it for Rotary. I've already heard a couple people here say they like QuickBooks. I use QuickBooks at work. I'm not a county. I'm a government entity. I'm funded by my county and I operate like my county, but I keep my own books, and I've used QuickBooks for 20 years, and it allows you to do a lot more accounting type things. So it's a good system. But I've learned DACDB, and it's my favorite. I've fallen in love with it. The platform itself is actually a little dated. It's a little older than some of the other things that are out there, but for what it does and how it communicates with Secretary module, it's my hero. What am I doing? There we go. Ooh. Go through there, look, see if you see anything, want to make a comment. System of your own innovation is just rife for errors. Here's on Quicken, not recommended because of those reasons. Does anybody use Quicken? We won't even spend any time on it if you don't use it. You even know what it is. It's more of a personal checkbook type thing. You know, I get up every morning, I hit click and I say update, and it bounces my checkbook for me. Thank you. You know, I used to, years and years ago, argue I like it bounced to the penny. And my wife, not so much. And, now it's just, boom, there it is. But it doesn't bill and do all those things. QuickBooks. Somebody tell me what's so great about QuickBooks. That's what I'm saying. Y'all use it. I use it at work, and I really like it. Read through those. The next one's the same. Why for DACDB? But we'll go. But the beauty, I think, of DACDB is the secretary. When I was secretary, come in. Man, when I first took over as secretary, I got the badges and I burned off the little barcodes and put everybody's on. Everybody'd come in, I'd scan them, so they would be there. And that was just keeping up with it. But now, our secretary walks around with his phone going, here, 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 here. He keeps attendance with after they do that, and at the end of the day, when he goes back to his office, he sends everybody that wasn't there hey, missed you, another just a little good technique to remind people to keep attendance up. So sends a little, hey, missed you. And at the end of the month, treasurer sits down and you do the invoicing, and it knows who was there and who wasn't and bills them accordingly. I don't know how QuickBooks does that. You have to manually put in your, oh no, I'll take QuickBooks any day, because that's the attendance portion is just, that's almost worth its weight in gold right there. You don't have to even talk to the secretary. You don't have to ask him or her for the records. You don't have to ask them for anything. There they are. Matter of fact, I go in, I look over both of them all the time. I'm constantly looking at both of them just to see how many people came today, how many people were makeups. You can do that in the DACDB module, and just kind of another set of eyes, keeping on, asking the secretary, hey, did you send out reminders? Did you say, I forgot, just we'll send them out, because little stuff like that's kind of what keeps your club kind of going, kind of just little, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I like when I miss a meeting, I get an email that I was missed. Even though it's a robo kind of email, it's like, oh, they knew I wasn't there. I like the reports. I've heard some concern with the DACDB reports back there, but and the next one is all DACDB. Why it's so good. I'm telling you that the cross-platform part of it, you can have read-only rights. So the only people that can actually go in and change anything in our finance module is the treasurer and assistant treasurer, how we have it set up. But we have our secretary and our president and president-elect. They have read only rights, so they can go in and look at it. They can look and see, go at home. They don't have to call anybody. They don't have to ask anybody. That's huge to be able to do that, as opposed to, hey, when you want to get together, when you want to meet, bring your stuff. No, I can't meet here or there. So anyway, do we want to go on into the finance module further? 10-4. Your bank. I think you can. I do not do that. Yeah, you can, like I do with Quicken at home. I get up every morning and it zaps back and forth with my bank. I think you can do that with DAC-DB, but we don't. Yes, you can in QuickBooks. Yes. But quite frankly, I mean, what do we write? We probably will write less than 10 checks a month. Normally it's 5 or 6, just weekly to the little cafeteria and maybe a couple of odds and ends. So I don't have a lot of checks. So balancing my checkbook takes me, I balance our checkbook. I get the statement, first of every month. 15 minutes, 10 minutes. Long as the treasurer put all the checks in, doesn't take long at all. So I don't necessarily need to balance daily or weekly with my bank. Does anybody have any different on that? I don't either. I talked about the read only. This is going into DAC-DB, how you set it up. I took over, a lady had set ours up and she was only there a year and she left. She did a lot of work setting up but we changed a lot after she left. And so you got to get in and dig around. It's an okay program. I mean, I'm a digital immigrant. I came like all the old people to the digital world as an adult. And, but you can get in and dig around, and usually the answer is there on the screen on how you want to do stuff. Changing accounts from expense accounts to liability accounts. That was one of the things we had to do. She had them all set up as expense accounts. Bless her heart. But she did it all by herself, and we were grateful. But we got in there and started, me and another banker guy, and he wasn't a CPA. I wish we'd had a CPA, but we've even had to change stuff after we've done. That's one of the biggest things. I don't use these too much. I don't use their little quick reports, quick reference reports. You can go to DAC-DB and look at some of the stuff real fast. It generates post and email invoices. So there's a little bit of a learning curve. I wouldn't call it a steep learning curve, but once you start learning how to set up your invoices, dues, mills, monthly, and you got all these accounts set up, and you go in and you can individualize these things. You can put little messages on there to remind people. You customize templates. You have to use, like in our case, the credit card template. There's all sorts of templates that you can send out with the email on the invoices. And that's another thing. Secretary has to keep good records, and everybody have a good email address. We have one guy right now still doesn't do email. So we print off his invoice and come in and, hand it to him every month when we do invoices. But people change invoices, emails. So you gotta keep up with that. Saved us a lot of money. When I first was treasurer 10, 15 years ago, stacks, going postage was an expense. Mailing out all them, it was a pain. It was a lot of work, but you can, DAC-DB says you can do it in, 5 or 10 minutes, but most time you're a good half an hour making sure everything's right. Before I send out my 40 or 50 invoices though, I scroll through each one of them and look at every one of them. But it's like page down, page down, page down, page down, because I'm looking at pretty fast. But I can see if there's something weird. I'm, sending somebody $1,000 bill or I just go through real fast to make sure. I still miss things, but you can go through, get them all before you send them out, so somebody doesn't get a surprise and call you up and start fussing at you. Well, I admire you for knowing your club and doing what you have to do to get it done, is what I would say on that. But we do have people say, you know, I never got it. It went, you know, check your spam. So there's, you know, and we do have to mail out. Now, a thing we struggle with is the statements that you can send out after everybody, you know, after, and we would send those out like at the end of the month and then invoices at the first of the month. But the statements look a lot like the invoices. And even though you might say, okay, but people would get confused between a statement and an invoice. And we've kind of stopped that so much because it was quite frankly confusing people. And we got a couple of different techniques that we use on that. But reminding people to pay is a tough challenge. Yeah. Well, it's just like any business. I mean, you got to collect what you're owed, and some people, of course, right on time. Other ones, it's like pulling teeth, and you just have to know your club and what you got to do that. And every now and then, your best payers will, for reasons, personal reasons, et cetera, and they'll get embarrassed, you know, and oh God, just, you know, forgot about it, I've been busy, had a grandchild, blah blah blah. You know, this kind of low priority that they owe $57 to the Gaffney Rotary Club. Oh yeah, they expect perfection. We have some folks in there with the same last name, and you know, got them crisscrossed one time. And I thought the guy was going to come across the table at me. I'm exaggerating, but I had to tell him real quick. I was a volunteer, and I would be glad to get it fixed. Calm down, you know. Oops, you know, do over, you know. But I mean, I said, well, you know. But, you know, it's like his credit report counted on it or something. But, you know, people get, you know, they expect you to be perfect. This is the accounts that we're looking at, your liability accounts, equity accounts, income, and under that's your statement account. But this is just a quick view of their checking account. So you gotta keep the check register in DAC-DB. So when, you know, write the check, give it to our Limestone College, make sure you put it in there. When I reconcile, I don't know how many times I've had to call my treasurer and say, you forgot to put a check in. So again, just checking that a good balance, you know. And he goes, oh, sorry. And I usually know by the amount, like, you know, that was a check to the college for meals that were, let's just go through real quick. I talked about statements. They're very confusing on us. Now, they're good to track at the bottom line of how much somebody owes you. So I usually don't send them out. I go up and tap them on the shoulder and say, you know, check your email. You owe me a couple of bucks. How much do I owe you? And I tell them, they write a check. Print checks, what you were talking about. You can print your checks from DAC-DB. I don't do that. I reconcile. One little trick when you reconcile, I try not to keep a lot of paper. I mean, I scan a lot of stuff. I keep it that way because I just can't stand tons of paper this day and time. And I don't want to give anybody, I say, here's your file, whatever. But you can, there's a little quirky on when you reconcile. There's the little small thing over there, the little blue, and you can click on it. Actually, that is, now when you reconcile, there's a little print sheet looking thing. I can't, right beside the red box. If you don't have a copy of your reconciliation. You can set up your budget. You can clone it from last year, fill in your blanks, do all that. Budget should not be hard for you once you've done one, unless, I'm sorry. There's your reports you were talking about. And is that what was giving you a fit on the cash basis, some of those reports versus accrual? And there's some good videos on the different types of reports. And I've talked, you know, different presidents, different people want different reports. That's where you can customize and move your expense accounts to liability accounts. We've talked about credit card payments. This one's a little squirrely with us. On DAC-DB, when you got a year-end closeout, which we're all doing now, if you're on DAC-DB, it's telling you, make sure you transition over, make sure your new officers are in place, et cetera, so everybody has their right security clearance. Different people have different levels of access. Your club members can't go into because they're a club level, what, 2, Terry, or something like that. So security level 1, they can't look at your finance module. So your president, treasurer, you've got the, golden wand where you can go in and look at everything and change some things. But at the end of the year, you do your closeout on it, and somebody help me out here, accounting people, but it clears out all the accounts, so you kind of got like a fresh start. Did I say that right? It was confusing to me. Huh? Closes out the year on June 30th. So we're coming up with that. Now, when do you do that? So, we've stretched it out as kind of long, we're at the end of July, sometimes August before we close out, because you still got money coming in that was billed in May and June or January. You have some of those. So you're wanting everybody to pay all their bills so you can close it out, but the closeout doesn't do that, but you can still go back and by date look for what you paid in on certain times, because now it doesn't show up. I think you were talking about that, about your reports later on don't show what your liability accounts have paid out. It's about I think I looked, we paid $350 for everything a year. The secretary model the district pays for. If you can use secretary model, anybody can use secretary module for free, which I assume most everybody does, because that's how you report your attendance. But then you got to take that and somehow talk to QuickBooks. Okay, what if you have a problem? Call Terry. Give me a call. Heather. I've heard some people. She's busy. She answers the phone from a lot of places, and your timing has to be right. I think she lives out Colorado or somewhere out there. So you got to look at your clock and don't get her when she's picking up the kids and stuff. But if you can get her undivided attention, she is absolutely super. But she's very busy, and you got to know when to call her, and you'll figure that out. So June 30th close out, but we don't close out till like August, like a month later. Try to give as much time as you can for payments to come in, to post against any outstanding invoices, and then we run our year-end reports that our CPA wants from us, and we take it over, and she does all the filing. We have to go over there and sign a couple of things once she's got it all ready, but she does all the filing for us. But and even like it gets a little tough sometimes, because Heather is good with specific questions, but when you start getting to accounting practices and procedures, accrual, cash date, she's like, well, that's up to y'all. Okay, thank you.